thought we were going to be teaching was going to be the parable of the faithful servant. So that's where I'm going. So we're kind of doing a little bit. I said, oh, John, you got a different one in Luke than I did, but I think that's totally designed by God for us to do that, so we're just going to go with it. So I'm actually going to be reading out of Luke 12, and this is 42 through 48 out of the Amplified Bible. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just put them on, Mom. Just keep the paper on there. There you go. And we can just set the other ones out here. Is there any others?
Yeah, there's a couple more in there.
Come on, Jack, put one on.
There's a couple more.
Like the horse with the, what do you call it?
I'm surprised you didn't want the cool. I'm surprised you didn't want the cool guy.
I didn't see
There's
that.
a cool guy here. Here, put the cool guy on. That's okay. I'll put the
What am I
angel
wearing?
on.
What am I wearing? All right.
You've got the encourager. You got the encourager. Okay. How's that?
That's good.
Okay, good. All right. All righty. So I'm going to start this out, and then I'm going to ask a couple other of you to also read in here. I think sometimes when we're reading, it can become monotonous hearing the same voice. So if we change it up a little bit, I think it's good. So, the parable of the faithful servant. The Lord said, "Who then is the faithful and wise servant of the estate, whom his master will put in charge over his household, to give his servant their portion of food at their proper time? Blessed, happy, prosperous, to be admired is that servant whom his master finds so doing when he arrives. I assure you, and most solemnly say to you, he will put him in charge of all of his possessions." I was going to have you read, Kelly, but since you're doing that,
Okay.
John, why don't you read this section I marked for Kelly, and then Petey can read the end.
But if that servant says in his heart, "My master is taking his time in coming," and begins to beat the servants, both men and women, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the unbelievers. Nice. Cut him in pieces.
Cut him in pieces, yeah, that's a little strong.
Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. And that servant who knew his master's will and yet did not get ready or act in accord with his will be beaten with many lashes of the whip. But the one who did not know it and did things worthy of a beating will receive only a few lashes. From everyone to whom much has been given, much will be required, and to whom they entrusted much of them, they will ask all the more. Wow, that just answered a question in my mind.
Well, you know, it's not a mistake then that we're
Wow.
supposed to read that. Okay, so in this parable, I truly believe that this is leading into the Lord's return. And this is painting a picture about what are we going to be doing when he returns. So I got to thinking about an article, John, actually, something that came over on Facebook, and I had not heard it before. And maybe some of you did hear it, but I'll kind of give you just a small synopsis of it. And then I looked it up on Snoops, and there's a lot more information about the actual study if you ever want to read this. I'm not going to go into it. But there was a church that was getting a new pastor, and he was going to be introduced to the congregation. But before he was introduced, he dressed up as a homeless man.
Oh, right.
And he went into the church to see how the congregation was going to receive him. And he was treated very poorly. When he went down front, he was asked to move to the back. A lot of people just ignored him. And apparently there was only a couple people that maybe even spoke to him and received him. And when they said that they were going to introduce the new pastor to the church, everybody's excited. They want to meet the new pastor, and here comes the man that's dressed as a homeless man and comes forward. And you know that hearts were just convicted tremendously that day. I think of that as the Lord's return. I think about what if he comes sometime, and he's coming in and he's visiting, and we don't recognize him because he's in disguise,
Yeah.
right? What's our life looking like when he shows up like that? What's going on in our life? And I want to ask, and I want you to search your hearts while I'm going through this. And you may feel some things that are in your own life. You may think some things of other people you know of that are in that situation. But all in all, we need to be prepared. And in this, what God is saying in this is that he wants to come back and find that we're ready. Are we acting like it could be today, it could be tomorrow, or are we just going on, and are we wearing our masks? Everything that you have on today is representing maybe something that we're trying to portray and cover up and kind of putting on our good face. These are all good faces. I've got the angel going on. What do you guys got going on?
I got the silly stick your tongue out. You know.
Okay, you're the clown. You're
I'm the
kind of like
clown.
the class clown, but you know everybody likes that person, right? Everybody likes the one that's
Ooh,
making
I
everybody
can't
laugh.
Cool Ray.
He's the Fonz. He's the Fonz.
What do I have going on?
You have looks like a police.
Oh, you
cop.
have the good cop.
You got the good cop.
You got the person who's in
You're a good cop.
authority,
I'm a good cop.
but everybody likes him. What do you have?
Oh,
I
okay.
have two
She's got the
smiley
wink
faces
face.
hugging each other.
So that would be like a husband and wife that are,
I'm
everybody's
policing.
envious
Is that right?
of that
Yeah,
husband
you're
and wife because they seem like the
Directing.
perfect
You're
couple.
directing.
And who are you?
Protect cop. You're
Just like a
protecting.
snoozy winky
Yes.
face. Snoozy
You're
winky.
protector.
I think you're just kind of yeah.
Turn to the
Maybe
side,
a little
Dave.
flirty.
Turn to the
Who
side.
were you, Kelly? Or
I'm a.
Oh, smart.
oh, you're the student. You're the smart one.
Graduate.
I'm
Hey,
the graduate.
She is the graduate, right?
I
Okay.
can't see out of
So
the cloud.
this is
I'm a
kind of
graduate.
our.
Huh?
A graduate.
Have any of you ever gone into like a networking meeting? Have you ever done networking?
Yep.
No? Have you ever gone on a job interview? What kind of face do you put on when you're going into a job
All
interview, right?
these.
Right, yeah.
At the right time.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
right time, you're going to find the appropriate face to put on, right?
Yep.
But let's talk about what's behind the face. Okay? Let's talk about what would be noticed on the times that we're not at that job interview. When we're not on that first date, trying to make a good impression. Right? When we're not meeting the parents, the future possible parents for the first time. What are we looking at? Okay, so for instance, I'm going to show you, it's going to be kind of like a book illustration today. One of you have on the cop. I call that the person of authority, the person that
Wendy.
is, that's
Wendy,
mom.
Wendy,
Yeah,
Wendy,
Wendy.
Appropriate, yes.
So
I'm a good cop.
we're
She's a
wearing
good cop.
we're wearing the badge of the cop, right? And we're supposed to be seen as a person of trust, right? This is a person that's going to save me. This is a person that I can feel like I'm being protected, right? But I don't know. Most of you have probably seen movies where there's always the good cop gone bad, kind of the good cop gone bad in the to everyone else in the office, or the double agent, or anything like that. There's this side that really, behind all of it, there's an ulterior motive, right? That's the cop. What about the one like my hat here, the angel? Everybody meets her, and she's just, and this could be your children. Think about the children, right? This could be the angel that everybody sees, but behind the halo, The horns are the things holding up the halo, right? Right? Those are the things holding up. How many of you can relate to like the child that can be well-mannered, then all of a sudden you're thinking, where did this other child come from? Where did this personality come from? Oh my gosh. You know, this is like maybe a bipolar kind of, you know, Jekyll and Hyde behavior. Okay? What about the definition of virtue? Virtue. A pattern of thought and behavior based on high moral standards. You have a daughter you think is very virtuous. You think that, you know, her whole idea is that she's going to be saving herself or her husband, and that's what you're really hoping for, and you're leading that. And so to you and to everyone else, here's the angel. What I thought of here was, how many of you have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah.
Ferris, he just had his parents thinking that he was just the angel. The sister knew better. Sister knew better. But Ferris ended up being the one that was the partier, or he was, you know, carrying on. Well, here we got the little girl that we're thinking is the angel, but what's going on behind her backs? Is there some activity happening that we don't really know about? Is there, maybe she's, yeah, those are handcuffs.
Handcuffs.
Those are little,
And a whip.
that's handcuffs and a whip, yes. So,
You're so creative, Jayne.
hey, this was wonderful to find a site that had all these smiley faces with all this stuff. This was wonderful. Okay, now what about, how many of you, as Michael has the class clown, how many of you know of the clown that behind the mask is the tears? And of course there is a song,
Tears of the Clown.
Tears of a Clown. So there is something else going on behind the mask. I've got a few more. Okay, how many of you have a BFF? Okay, guys, you can have a BFF too. You can have a best friend, BMF.
BBF.
Best male friend.
Best boyfriend. Best BFF.
Buddy.
Okay, buddy.
Best buddy.
Best friends forever. Okay? And here you are thinking you got this best friend. Best friend forever. Okay, this is my girlfriend. Only to find out that you didn't know she was stealing the boyfriend behind your back. So here we've got the sad friend and the one that was doing the stealing. Right? These are real things that happen, you know? Okay, what about, good husband. 19 tips for domestic bliss. The good husband goes to church. Everything just looks so happy, hunky-dory. Oh my gosh, everybody, this is your little smiley face here. I'm not saying this is your life, you know, but we are just saying these are just examples. I hope this isn't your life I'm going into here. But everybody's like, oh, they're the perfect couple. Oh my gosh, they probably never fight. But what's he doing at home? What's happening behind closed doors? Right? Excuse me. This isn't turning as easily. Maybe he's abusive. Maybe there's a lot of anger. Maybe she is. This could be a she. You know, that could have been the 19 tips for a wife. You know, so you're right. This is not just pointed to men, but that's another thing that's happening behind those masks. Okay. What about, again, the happy married couple? With somebody else in the dark hours. Could go either way. Somebody having an affair, the unfaithful spouse. We're almost there. We're almost to the end of my pictures. This is the giver. The person that's always wanting to give. But the opposite side too is the greed. Okay? So that can kind of go two ways too. It's all about motive. What is this giver? Is this giver giving out of a clean motive? Or is there something behind it that they're wanting to acquire? Friends? Maybe they're lonely, so they want to do everything so they can buy friends through their giving. But then what about the one that's greedy, that's wanting to take? You know. So now I want to get into super Christian.
Oh.
Too much sleep.
Super Christian.
Super Christian. This is super Christian.
Da-da-da.
This is, and I am not putting anybody down. And I'm not saying that everyone is this way.
Right.
But I think that we have all encountered people in our walk in life where we found out that there was some people with the super Christian mask on that deep down there was things in their closet, things that were hidden. We hear about a lot of pastors, people that are actually in leadership that are having problems with sin in their life, and they hide it in the closet. But you know, God says that anything in the dark will come to the light. And especially in a pastoral or leadership role, you're going to be accountable. God's going to hold us accountable. What about the parable? What if he says, you know what, at the end, you already knew. You know what it's supposed to be. The lashing and the repercussion that can come because we're not following his word, because we learned it. Ignorance is no excuse. You learn it. He's brought it to you. Now you're responsible for the knowledge, right? So here we have super Christian. We have the one that's always saying, you know, that's saying that they'll do their prayers and things of this sort. But what's going on behind the closed doors again? You know, we've got maybe some partying. I'm not saying that partying's not good or it's appropriate. I'm talking about inappropriate things. So maybe some distraction. I think of this as distraction. You know, I got the music going on, I got my headset, I got this, and this is kind of distracted in the worldly sense to the things that God's telling her to do. This is a stoner. So we've got the one that's doing self-medicating, okay? In whatever form, there's self-medication going on. What about lustful ones? We've got those that are dealing with the sin of you know, impurities and just impure thoughts and pornography and you know, sexual sins. And we've got the one that just plain has an evil spirit and we really don't know, but there's a cover up. And I don't know if you know this, but in churches there are people that will pretend to be super Christian and they really are following a different God. So it's important that we discern this. I'm bringing all this to you to talk about the condition of the heart. And about who Jesus Christ really is to each person that's sitting in here. And I want you to ask yourself, who is Jesus to me? Yes, he's got a powerful name. Yes, he is, you know, many people would say, you know, that he is enlightened and he's, you know, whatever you're thinking. Is he the historical person to you? Is this I know of Jesus, I know who he is here? Or has he reached your heart? And everything with God is a heart issue. This all ties into the parable because, you know what? We cannot fulfill this at the end here, what we're supposed to be doing in this parable. We can't fulfill it if Jesus is only in our head.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the ability. We don't have the resources. We don't have the understanding. Because the changes that will occur in all of these scenarios, all of these will change when Jesus gets in here. Because it has to. Because God is love. And the voids that we're filling, all these things in here are to fill these places in the heart that are in pain or that are vacant, those rooms that are still not been swept clean yet. But when Jesus is invited in here, then you will see change. If you know Christians, if you know these super Christians whose lives just do not bear any fruit of any change, then I wonder if anybody's really invited them to know and have a relationship with Jesus Christ. The woman that came to us from Indiana, when I asked the Lord how to pray for her, he said to me, ask her who Jesus is to her. And so you probably couldn't hear me asking her because you were all standing around. But I said, who is Jesus to you? And she says, well, I've known him all my life, but I've been afraid. I said, would you like to know him in your heart and get him out of your head and bring him in here? That was the moment she was saved. That was the moment her life changed and will forever be changed, and her eternal place changed. But if we only keep Jesus up here and we don't let him come in here, we will fight overcoming these things.
That's right.
So, let's talk about our heart for a moment. Our heart has many rooms. Many, many rooms. It is not just, a one-time thing. Jesus comes in. Well, we might have let Jesus in the front door of our heart. Can you tell that this is like a little house? Can you see that?
That's
it's a little
neat.
house. It's got lots of little windows, lots of little rooms. But what rooms are we going to let him show, or are we going to let him in? How many times have you cleaned your house knowing you're going to have a bunch of company coming in, and you throw everything into the closet, think I'll tend to it later, and hope that they don't open that closet and put their coat in there because everything. So, do we let Jesus in the closets? Do we let him in the bedroom? Do we let him in the bathroom? What's going on in there? What's going on in our lives? What kind of hidden things might be there? That if Jesus showed up at our door and said he was a neighbor coming for a cup of sugar, and could he borrow a cup of sugar, and you let this neighbor in not knowing it was Jesus, and you got maybe an argument going on, things carrying on, stuff's happening in the house, place is a mess. And then he removes his mask. But you know what? He's not there to judge us. That's what's so wonderful. He's there to love us. So it's for the good. But I want you to think of, what are the places in your heart that maybe you've locked up? Maybe you're not even aware that you put a lock on this area of your heart when you were this small. That maybe the pain was so intense that you just thought, I can't go back in there, and I can't let anybody open that up, because if they do, it's going to bring a flood of emotions. But you know what? God is so good. He wants your whole heart. He wants to be the Lord of every room of your heart. This is a boarded up room. Boarded. What happened where we put so much that something so bad was, this could be something that involves a tremendous pain. Women who have gone through sexual abuse or, rape. This can be
Or
something
men.
that men too. Men that's right. It is, this is not everyone's victim sometimes to something like that. So we need to think about that. Have we boarded that up? But we have the key. Which one of these keys opens those places and those rooms? Every single room in your heart has a different key. Has a different key. Are you going to give this to Jesus? Are you going to give him the key to open up your heart and enter in? Because guess what? He's there knocking right now. He's there at the door. And he's knocking on your heart. And he says, are you going to let me in? You going to let me in that room? I don't want to just come in the living room. I want to go in every room. Can I go into every room? I know that sometimes it's hard to get from the head portion down into the heart. But I know that sometimes it's just a matter of saying, I'm willing. God, I'm willing. I'm willing for you to be Lord over all those rooms in my heart. And I want to be healed. And I want to give you that place. And that's what I want you to think about in your own life. Have I brought Jesus from here into here yet? It's okay if you haven't. I know pastors that have been pastors for years and never really knew that they needed to bring Jesus in here. Let's talk about relationship. This is where relationship comes from. Having an intellectual relationship with someone doesn't give you the intimacy, which we've talked about before in 2EC. So Mom and I were talking about this earlier today, and I said, okay, she had an opportunity one time to meet Donald Trump personally. She tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around and he said, hello, beautiful. So I asked her, I said, do you have a relationship, a personal relationship now with Mr. Trump? You probably have more feeling in your heart for him because of that comment that he made to you. But does he really know who you are? There's not that relationship there yet, right? There's a head knowledge of who this person is. But let's say he had her phone number and decided to call her up and said, I remember you were that really nice lady that I met out there in Myrtle Beach, and I just kind of like to get to know you better. Building a relationship. When you have a relationship with someone, it'll be different dynamics. For me with my mother, I have a relationship with her. My brothers, they each have a relationship with her. Her grandchildren have different relationships with her. Every one of those relationships are real. Which one's the right relationship? They're all right. They're all right. And so to say that it has to be one way to have a relationship is not true. And how do you expect all relationships to be exactly alike? It's the same thing with God. So our relationships are very unique. So for somebody to say, well, you have to praise him and worship him and believe in him and feel the way I do because mine's the right way. It's right for you. If each one of us were to look at Petey's t-shirt at that color blue, we may all actually see that color blue a little bit different. And we may have a different name for it. But that blue, I can only tell you what that blue looks like to me. But to some of you, that blue may tend to have more of a yellow cast to it. To me, it has more of a red cast in it as a base color. Some of you may say it's bright blue. Some of you may say it's a muted blue. It's all behind the eyes that are seeing that color. So, all I would want is for each one of you to come to know Jesus in the heart and to invite him into every one of those rooms. What areas in your life can we all stand without judgment and support one another to have healing and say, you know what, I need to confess that I have a problem in this area or I have a problem in that area. And you don't tell everybody, but you find people you can confide in that will pray with you and will see you to victory. And what can we do to get Jesus from here to here? What can we do to get our spouse from here to here? What can we do to get our friends from here to here? Sometimes it's being vulnerable and letting Jesus, letting him open those doors that we've boarded up and that we've chained up. And say, you know what, it's time to let me in, and I'm going to help you bring some light into that room. No longer does it have to be dark.
Amen. Amen.
So, let's all think about this parable, and let's draw that to a conclusion. I know I kind of go off the beaten path, but you know what? This is what the Lord showed me in this parable, is that it's time for all of you to